Amy Johnson was one of the most influential and inspirational women of the 20th century. A pioneering English pilot who set a string of records throughout her career, was determined to prove that flying could be more than just a hobby, and that women were just as capable pilots as men. Johnson was born on the 1st of July 1903 in Kingston upon Hull, England, and graduated from Sheffield University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics. Initially introduced to flying as a hobby, it did not take her long to gain a pilot's A licence in July 1929. By December of the same year, she was granted the Ground Engineer's C licence, becoming the first woman in the country to obtain this. In recognition of this achievement, she was elected a member of the Women's Engineering Society, WES, in March 1930. With the financial assistance of her father and Lord Wakefield, Amy was able to purchase a G-AAAH, a second-hand de Havilland DH.60 Gipsy Moth, which she called Jason, after her father's business trademark. 1930 was an extraordinary year for Amy, with a solo flight from Croydon to Australia. On May the 5th, she set off from Croydon Aerodrome, but a combination of mechanical problems and poor weather conditions meant that she did not break the record. However, she landed in Darwin, Australia on the 24th of May, 19.5 days later, and was thereafter the first woman to fly solo to Australia. In the same year, she was conferred with the honour of CBE by King George V, and made an honorary Fellow of the Society of Engineers (SOE), as well as an honorary member of the Guild of Air Pilots. In March 1931, the SOE presented Amy with the President's Gold Medal for the year 1930 for her paper on The Attention That I Gave to Jason's Engine During My Flight. In July 1931, Amy set another record. With her co-pilot C.S. Humphrey, she was the first to fly from London to Moscow in one day, completing the 1,760 miles journey in 21 hours. From there, they continued across Siberia and on to Tokyo, setting a record time for flying from Britain to Japan in August 1931. The whole 7,000-mile trip was completed in 10 days, and they returned in September of that year. The following year, in September 1932, Amy was elected Vice President of the Women's Engineering Society. 2 months later, she set a new world record for a solo flight from London to Cape Town, South Africa, in 4 days, 6 hours and 54 minutes. She then beat this 4 years later, along with 3 other records, completing the journey in 3 days, 6 hours and 26 minutes. Amy married aviator Jim Mollison in 1933, but divorced in 1938. In July 1933, she flew to America with Mr. Mollison, attempting a non-stop flight east to west across the Atlantic. However, they crashed at Connecticut, having run out of fuel. Amy then spent several months in America studying aviation design and manufacture. In 1934, she was a pilot for Hillman Airways, London-Paris, and in September of that year, she was elected president of WES. A month later, she broke the record for a flight to India during the London-Melbourne Air Race. In October 1940, during the Second World War, Amy enlisted in the newly formed Air Transport Auxiliary, ATA, flying aircraft from factories to RAF air bases and around the country. She was a senior pilot in the women's section and rose to first officer. However, tragically, on the 5th of January 1941, Amy took off in thick fog in an airspeed Oxford for the ATA from Prestwick to RAF Kidlington and went off course. Her plane crashed in the Thames estuary. A nearby ship, HMS Hasselmer, reportedly spotted her parachute in the water, but severe weather conditions thwarted any rescue attempt and her body was never recovered. Amy Johnson died on the 5th of January 1941 after a distinguished aviation career. Her life can be summed up as this: as recorded in the WES journal, The Women Engineer, a tribute to Amy Johnson. She demonstrated for all time that women can plan daring feats, can pay close attention to detail, can superattend and carry out a prescribed program, can overcome obstacles as they are encountered, can learn from misfortune, can face disappointment without loss of courage.